Okay, welcome everyone to the Alukus podcast. This is class number 15 in the discourse Vayedaber Moshe Roshei, which is the 10th discourse in the book Roshei 5672. And this is class number 6 in chapter 39. Okay, we thought we'll finish it in chapter 5, but we're still in in class 5 in this chapter, and it's already class number 6. But Ezra Hashem. Okay, so the last class we were learning that we explored the first mode of Ilah va'alol, where the Ilah and Alol, the cause and the effect, are two separate substances, where one is embedded in the other, hidden inside the other, and it emerges. It's like a foreign entity embedded within the cause, and the cause helps the effect emerge, and his what he has kind of deduced from that, where he came. Well, what he concluded with that is that it must be that if they're two separate, and the example that we were using for this mode was intellect and emotions. Emotions are of a complete different substance of intellect, yet emotions are produced through the intellect, and they begin to emerge inside the intellect, and that is where so much more the Ilah and Alol application comes, because Ilah and Alol imply a cause and effect that are very close to each other and very much interactive in each other. In other words, they are looped like a chain. One loops into the space of the other. And so here's where the emotions begin already in the intellect. But even the emotion in the intellect, we learned, is emotion. It's not intellect, but it's an elevated emotion because it doesn't have the self-centeredness of the emotion. It has the objectivity of the intellect is polishing the emotion, so to speak, for the emotion to be more sensitive to the objective good, even though it's excited, because excitement is what emotions are, but the emotion can kind of let go of the self and really be excited about the objective good that there is in this, the very fact that it's, like we discussed earlier, bubbly, is already an indication that it's emotion. It's a different substance. Intellect is calm and it's not bubbly. And the bubbling of the emotions is emotion. It's just that the emotion is in its original high state as being in the space of the intellect. So it has some of the properties of intellect that it's not self-centered. It has the objectivity, but yet it's a bubble within the objectivity. It's an excitement within the and it's indicating that I'm feeling something. That's why I'm getting excited, but I'm not getting excited about myself. I'm getting excited about you. And therefore I'm just thinking about the good of you, not even how you relate to me, but I'm getting excited. So there's more of a hargasha of self, as opposed to the intellect, which is a stepping out of self. Okay. Now, so we were learning that since we have over here an interlooping and an encasement of one entity encased inside the other one, that itself is an indication that where this can take place is only in the external realm of a certain entity, not the essence. Because in the essence, which is the true, in the essence of a certain substance, there's no mixture. If it's a mixture, then you're not in the essence anymore. The essence is one indivisible entity. So if there is already a mixture, it's already in the outer expressions of something, where over there are shapes and forms, and over there you can have already a multitude aspect of things mixing in. It's like there's a very deep sacred spot inside our heart of hearts where it's just ourselves, our deepest selves, or you want to call it us and God, which is our divine self. But there's like a very deep, deep point where things don't get all the chazarai of the world. I don't only mean chazarai. Chazarai is a negative thing. All the stuff of the world, all the clutter, all the noise, and all the reach that things around us reach into us and embed themselves inside of us and create all kinds of mush inside our minds and in our hearts. It's not in our substance. Our substance is like Chassidus teaches us, is always clean and pure. That's the substance. And oy gewalt of chas v'shalom, that the erosion begins to enter into the substance. But then it's like something is seen, but it's still not. Where if you go deeper, there is always the place of the essence where there's nothing else there but the purity of self. So that's the idea. So you can have, if the very notion of how Ilah v'Olol is, that the Ilah wraps itself, the cause wraps itself around and incorporates within it the Olol, and in this mode, remember, in this mode of Ilah v'Olol, we've declared, or we've detected from the mode of which we see there exists intellect and emotions. They're two separate entities. And so that itself forces us to conclude that that's not shayach, that doesn't exist in pnimius, in the essence of something, but in the chitzonius of something. So how would that apply to the intellect and the emotions? It would apply that in the external part of the intellect, that's where the intellect is carrying the emotions. So if we might put it this way, we would say the substance of the intellect is the chachma. So in chachma, which is wisdom, is where the inner substance of intelligence is, the essence of intelligence. Over there is no emotions. There cannot be anything but there is the intellect. Where emotions start to brew in bina, because bina is already chitzonius. Bina is already the grasp of something, the external experience of something, not the essence of it. And therefore, bina is already the source for midos. She's called Ema Banim, the mother of the children. That's where we have the Ilah v'Olol happening. And even though father has also even though a father, we discussed in a few classes ago, even though the father also has some kind of input and relationship to the child, and the emotions are called children, they have to have a father and a mother, but the father's relationship is of distance, not close. Children sometimes might not. I mean, it's not a good situation, but it's possible that the children don't even know who their father is, because the father is from a distance. He makes his deposit and disappears, and inherently that's how the children grow without. But the mother is there; she's intertwined with her children. She carries them. And she nurtures them after they're born. They can't be motherless. So, that's the intrinsic maternal thing that God planted in a mother. Unless she's totally off the wall, but generally a mother will never abandon her children, at least not when they're very tiny and young, because she's interlaced with them and they're interlaced with her. So in that case, that's where you see that's the chitzonius, because bina in general is considered external compared to chach. However, really, in bina itself, because when we say that the intellect carries the emotion, it's, as we discussed yesterday, in the chitzonius of the bina. In the bina itself, it's not in the inner aspect of the bina, it's in the external part of the bina. That's where the emotions are contained. Now, he said in the parentheses, and I mentioned this yesterday, that just like we see that this principle, that the emotions, since they're a different substance, and in the essence, there can't be more than, the essence doesn't carry any other substances. The essence is pure, 100% pure, undiluted or unmixed, 100% pure, whatever it is, 100% pure cotton, 100% pure olive oil, 100%. The essence is the essence. It's not. There's no blends. The essence is not a blend. So in order to So that's with intellect and emotions. But then he showed us that the same thing, and this is the parentheses, he said exists even in the relationship of Chachma and Bina, which is within the intellect itself, where the Bina comes from the Chachma, where it too is not the same substance. Bina is not, as we discussed in the earlier class, Bina is not just an evolution, a further development of Chachma, but Bina has its own characteristics. And that's what the main part of what we're going to be developing in the next mimer is how inherently different Bina is than Chachma. They're two different, they're completely different. And therefore, and yet Bina comes from Chachma. So if Bina comes from Chachma, if understanding comes from wisdom, and we say that in essence there can't be a blend, so where does the Bina, how does the Chachma carry the Bina? Chachma is an akuda, as a point, and it has the pratim, it has the details which are going to evolve in the Bina. So where is the womb, so to speak? Where is the womb of Chachma, where Chachma is carrying the Bina? So he brought in the parentheses that Chachma carries the Bina also in its chitzanius, in its external. And he brought the idea that Chenu b'Chachma Bina, the Bina mohus nivdal min Chachma. Bina is a separate mohus from Chachma. It's a complete different substance. Or mishtalshel, it comes into, it evolves mehispashtas Chachma, from the expansion of Chachma, not from the inner nucleus of Chachma, but from the outer element of Chachma. And he brings from the Idra, from the Zohar, Hai Chachma is Pashit, that Chachma expands, Va'apik minei, and from the expansion of the Chachma is where Bina comes. In other words, from the external element of Chachma, that's where the source of Bina is, but not in the substance. What's troubling me, and I'm going to present to you, I'm not going to drive you too crazy with this question, I don't have the answer yet, is the whole point of where he started in this discourse is to explain that Chachma is essence. Bina, because right when he begins this Perek, he says Ve'inyan who, and the idea is, chapter 39 in class A, we learned this 39A, which I don't know which class that was, but it was a couple of classes ago, and it's called 39A. Yeah, it's subtitled that way. The Indian we learned over there, the main difference in Chachma and Bina is that Chachma taifes be'etzem adavar, that Chachma takes hold of the essence. So Chachma in general is an essential experience. It's essence to essence. It's where you grasp and are open to the essence of something. You're not defining something. You're not looking at its details. You're not looking at its definitions. You're just allowing yourself. He's soon going to explain that Chachma is like seeing something. When you're seeing something, you're not trying to fit it into anything. You're not trying even to describe it. You're not analyzing. And analyzing, you're already in Bina. You're just allowing it to be as it is. You're taking the whole thing is in its complete essence. Well, Bina taifes rak b'metzias hadavar. Bina only grasps the definitions of, which means the existence of it, as he calls it, but not the substance of it. All right? And where does he lead you there? Because Bina is grasping, he says, and you can grasp only something by its corners, and the corners are its definitions. So the Bina is more the description. And whenever you see a picture, there's a picture, and the bottom of it is a description. For a Bina person, they don't care about the picture; they're just consumed in the description. Who the artist was, under what circumstances they wrote it, what kind of ink did they use, what kind of, they want to understand the type of art that it is, the car, whatever, what kind of, And then there's someone that's a Bina person. A Chachma person is not reading anything about him. He's just lost in the magic of that piece of art, and is not reading the about it page. But the Bina is describing all the descriptions of it. So what did he say? And as a result, he says, and because of this, because Chachma is essence and Bina is Metzias, which is only the external element of it, we'll understand why Chachma is above the whole process of ishtalshalut, of evolution, which is the idea of ilah v'olol, cause and effect. It doesn't apply in Chachma. Because since Chachma is Pnimius and essence, in essence, there's no evolution. Evolution happens once you're in the external part of it, then it's possible to have, as we discussed now, a blend. You can be in the objective element of the description. You're already in the outside world of it. And from that outside world of descriptions can come already the hoo-ha about how wonderful it is. Instead of looking at the description of what it really is, you're getting caught up in what's the value of it, what's the pricing of it. That's really external. It's like it's already a far more outer element of it. And then you can from there come to emotions, real emotions, where it's just, how is this going to benefit me? So you're really outside of it. And all that evolution happens from Bina and downward. But Chachma stands for its own. It's not part of that evolution. Because it doesn't lend itself to this whole process because it's essence. That's what he's trying to explain over here. And then when he gets to the very point, and when he comes to show you how, and then he goes on to explain there's two types of ilah v'olol. To explain how ilah v'olol is only possible in chitzonius, in external, only from Bina and downward, and not in Chachma. To explain that, he says you should know there are two types of ilah v'olol. And either mode of it, either one, is only possible in external, not in the eternal. Would not apply to Chachma. Doesn't apply to essence. The first mode we discussed. What was the first mode? Where the ilah and the olol are two separate entities, and that itself was already reason to say that since it's then a blend is not possible in essence. In next chapter 40, he's going to introduce the second level of ilah v'olol, which is a little bit more of a refined ilah v'olol, a more elevated kind of ilah v'olol, cause and effect, where the effect is not a different substance than the cause. Same substance, but a more external element of it, like we would call it array. And he's going to explain how even that more refined ilah v'olol can also only exist in externality and not in essence. Essence does not lend itself to that evolution as well. Would seem to be saying from all of this that Chachma then does not have this whole process of evolution, right? So then how is it that, because Chachma is Pnimius, how is it right over here that he goes ahead and he says that the same thing applies to how Bina comes from Chachma? How does Bina come from Chachma? That Bina does not come from the Pnimius of the Chachma. Bina is a separate mohus, a separate substance. And therefore we have to say it's only embedded in the Chitzonius of the Chachma, in the Hispashtas of Chachma. But hold it, then Chachma is exactly the same like Bina. Bina, we also are saying that the essence of Bina is above the emotions. Where are the emotions embedded in? In the external part of the Bina. Because only over there can there be an impregnation of something else. Can there be two substances? That's the rule you said by Bina. So hold it. And what are you saying by Chachma? By Chachma, you're also applying the same concept, not regarding emotions. The ilah v'olol, the cause and effect, is not regarding the emotions, but regarding the Bina itself. Whereas Bina is almost like a product of Chachma. It evolves from the Chachma. And it's the same idea. It's a separate substance. It's like emotions are a separate substance. Bina is also a separate substance. And yet, where is it begin its existence? In Chachma. Like he just said. So then how is Chachma then fundamentally different, in which we say that in Chachma is Lamayla Mehishtalshlis, does not have this process of evolution? This is driving me crazy. I don't have the answer. Yet. I don't have the answer yet. It would seem to be This would seem to be like negating the whole idea that he's trying to explain, which is bothering me because it's showing me that I'm not getting it. when you get such a blatant slap in the face, meaning you get something that is so inconsistent with what he's trying to say, and so then you're realizing that you're not understanding something. Unless, I mean, I have some possible solutions, but I'm not fully comfortable with them. Unless we will say that his comparison that Chachma and Bina also operates in this is only in the concept that the Bina comes from the external element of Chachma, but that doesn't mean it's Ilah va'al, it's cause and effect. It could be that the Bina comes from Chachma not in a way of closeness, not in a way like the Ilah interacts with the Alol, but in a more distant level, which I don't understand. So then why he when he presented the parentheses Chachma Bina is also like that. It's only to bring out the one idea that the foreigner can only exist in a thing in the chitzonius of it. Yeah, but I don't know. That answer doesn't work for me. It's just not making any sense to me. So maybe it's not an answer. The other possibility that I'm thinking is that because we can really the question that I'm asking could be a deeper question, can be asked even stronger. If Chachma is above Ishtalshalos completely, then how do you have in Chachma itself, you have Bina of Chachma, and then you have, in other words, Chachma itself is a full configuration of all the Sfirot, everything. So how does that, how are there, he's going to speak about that soon, we're going to see. He's going to speak about the emotions of Chachma. So obviously there's some kind of internal evolution taking place in the Chachma itself. There is the Chachma of the Chachma. And in general, there are the Gimel Roshei, there are the three spheres of Chachma. And then there are the emotions, and then there is the Malchus of Chachma. So there is some kind of a Hishtalshalos taking place. But hold it, if you're saying that essence is beyond this whole evolution, then Chachma should be just a Nekuda, one sharp, indivisible Nekuda, because in as much as Chachma is essence, and then an unevolving element. Yet, it's not that way. So where my thoughts are going, and I don't have clarity, again, I'm posing this question. I'm studying it together with all of you. And I'm thinking that maybe we can say something like this. In every element, there is the thing, and then there is how the thing carries other things. So it would mean like this. The Chachma, the inyan of Chachma, the essence of Chachma is essence. It's not externality. It's essence. That's Chachma. And since in essence there's no blend, so we can still say the truth that Chachma is above Ishtalshalos. That was that. That's it. Bina compared to Chachma, its very definition of Bina is externality. In other words, in comparison to Chachma, that is internal. Bina is external. So therefore, although the same rule applies to Bina, that in the essence of the Bina, there's no the mother is not carrying her baby in her essence. She's carrying it in her womb, which is in her external space. But that does not take a bina, that does not exonerate bina at all from that experience of evolution, because the external space of bina is very much part of what bina is. Bina is the external understanding of something, understanding the external parameters, details, properties of something, which is all external. So therefore, even though in the Bina there is an element of essence of Bina, which is what he's saying in the Maimer over here, where over there the Ila the Ila carries the Olol in its external, but that does not mean that Bina is exonerated completely from being called Ila. Bina is Ila. In her external, she carries it. That's because, why can we apply the whole concept of Ila and Olol, of cause and effect, to Bina? Because Bina, the whole Bina is an external element. So the womb of Bina is very much part of the definition of Bina. But if Chachma has a womb, an external element, that's because Chachma is carrying something that Chachma needs to have, because it has to be a complete parts of, because it has to be a complete configuration. It has to have within it other things, but that doesn't define Chachma. The essence of Chachma is Pnimius, and in Pnimius there's no evolution. That's perhaps my somewhat of a resolve of this, but I'm still going to say that we have a big question mark over here. And I don't know. Okay, if any of you have a good explanation, you can contact me with it. Now we continue. I want to finish at least the chapter. Now we're learning the last few lines. But now he's going to say a moment, and he's going to say this whole premise that we just built, that the intellect, that there's two modes to Ilah v'Olol. And one of them is where the Ilah is carrying a foreign entity, and that's the Olol. And the Olol is only being produced from the Ilah, but it's a foreign entity. And that's Seichel and Midos, and the example of that is intellect and emotions. So now he wants to say that, hold it, don't jump there so fast. In other places in Chassidus, it explains that intellect and emotions are not two foreign entities. In other words, the example of intellect and emotions cannot serve as the example for an Ilah and Olol that are two separate entities. Now, I don't know if by making this observation that he's going to make now, the result of that, the conclusion of that is going to mean erase the whole idea of an Ilah v'Olol being able to be two foreign entities, one enwrapped in the other, or he's just challenging the notion that intellect and emotions is not, like we said, there's two modules for Ilah v'Olol, does not belong in that kind of Ilah v'Olol. Maybe that kind of Ilah v'Olol does exist, where the Ilah and the Olol are two separate substances, but don't use the example of intellect and emotions because it doesn't belong in that category. What then would be an Ilah v'Olol that would be in that category? I don't know. So again, I'm not sure if he is completely negating the it seems like he's not negating the whole concept of that kind of Ilah v'Olol. It seems like what he wants to present to us over here is that intellect and emotions might not be of category A of Ilah v'Olol, but of category B, which is going to be discussed really in the next chapter. But he's going to first give us why intellect and emotions are not two different substances. So let's see. You see, the whole premise that that intellect and emotions are two separate beings, where one carries the other, and it's like a blend of two things, in which the way it evolves is that substance A has hidden in it, and therefore it's the external part of it, the womb of it, substance B. But the way Hashem decided that B should emerge is only through being born through substance A. Like Hashem decided that you are not your mother, but you are going to be born through your mother. Right? That was the idea. That's the premise we had before. Now we're going to find out, no, you are your mother. What does that mean? We were saying earlier that emotions, even when they are in their source, in the intellect, are, because they're bubbly, remember we were using that term, because they're bubbly, and intellect is not bubbly, there is excitement there, is an indication that it's not intellect. He says no, not necessarily. Perhaps in other places it explains that even if you have bubbles in your mind, it doesn't mean that it's emotions. One of the features of intellect is that intellect can also have bubbles. There's two types of intellect. There's internal intellect that is very calm, where there's pure objectivity and there's no excitement because you're so deep in the inner element of what you're perceiving that there's no excitement at all. It's just, and then the intellectual excitement is considered intellect. It's not considered emotion. It's just a more outer part of the intellect. Here it's analyzing what it is, and here it's analyzing how much does this cost. Okay, that's maybe might be, or what's its value, or how is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? So it's a more it's zooming out a little bit more. Okay, you're zooming in, you're inside of it, you're zooming out a little more, but it's both intellect. If that's the case, there is never a switch of two substances. Now, while this external element of the mind is first produced in the mind, as we said, even when it leaves the mind and it descends into the heart to become a full-fledged excitement and an emotion which has self-centeredness, like we discussed earlier, even then we can still say it's a projected ray of the intellect. And that's what emotions are. Emotions are a very diluted radiance of intellect. And we call it with a new name of emotions. So it's kind of still in the continuation of the intellect. Now it would make more sense how one gives birth to the other, because it's not birthing a separate entity. It's the same thing. It's a ray. This is the mode of the second type of ilul, the olol, that the olol is the same substance of the intellect, just an external projection of it. So he wants to apply that the same to intellect and emotions, which again, mostly we wouldn't think so. We would see, and most of the places in Hasidus, it clearly states that emotions are a complete different substance. At their very core, it's a different substance. But here he wants to say, no, intellect and emotions are just an evolution of intelligence in a sense. Let's read it. That the intellect that's in the mind, that's in the intelligence, is still of the same substance of mochen. What does that mean? That the intellectual excitement, since when you're getting excited, it's not mixed in a selfishness in it. It's not, I'm thinking about how we're out, like I discussed, how this piece of art will hang, how nice it will look in my dining room, and how I will impress my guests who will come to my house and see this Rembrandt in my house or this Van Gogh in my house, and they'll be like amazed by it. It's just all selfish thinking. We said earlier, the excitement that's in the mind, that's already emotions. The excitement that's in the mind is pure, wow, this is like awesome, this is terrific, this is great, this is like crazy beautiful. Like you're instead of just analyzing and understanding it, you're understanding something more external about it, right? He says, since the inspireless atoiv da'adavar atzmai, it's on the good of it itself, not of how that impacts yourself. That is still considered mochen. It's still the world of intellect, which gives you the ability to analyze something. So you can to step out of yourself and get to know a reality outside of you. No, when you're getting to know that reality, getting to know an understanding of something, there is the understanding of it being deeply immersed in it, and then a little bit more to the outside of it, where you're looking more at external factors of it. But it's still about it, and that's intellect. Now, wow, ooh, 1 second there. How does it suddenly turn into emotions in the heart, which are very, very much centered on the person? So the excitement that's in the head, now, because it's already an excitement, even though it's mochin, it's intellect, as that radiates outwards, it becomes an emotion in the heart. In that sense, it's like there is a continuity of intellect going through and through. And he concludes, and in this manner we can say that the effect, is the second interpretation of what we're going to learn in the next chapter, that the effect is not a new substance that finds itself embedded and hidden inside its cause, but it's actually the cause itself in a more diluted manner, in a more it's a ray of it. So then, but even in that case, he's going to explain that itself is possible only in a world of chitzonius, only in external, but not in a world of essence, as we will see. Okay, we will leave we finished at least this chapter. We will leave the kitzer for the next class. It's gavaldic because I was literally really stuck and not having the energy to teach because I wasn't understanding. But as we're learning together, just the learning and expressing it with words is helping some of the clarification, what was clarifying in my head, and hopefully it's clear by you as well. Okay. We'll let Mashiach be here and we'll really get to see all of this.